A new development emerges. The auroras she generated begin concentrating into a single point above the Pacific Ocean. Satellites detect a massive sphere of harmless electromagnetic energy forming in the sky. Scientists scramble to predict its meaning, but Norman understands. "It's an anchor point," he whispers. Ross frowns. "Anchor for what?" "For the next step," Norman answers. Shortly after, Lucy broadcasts a final message to every connected system. Humanity is invited. A coordinated series of lights activates across the globe, forming pathways leading toward the energy sphere's location. People gather in cities, watching the sky as if witnessing a cosmic event. Reporters claim Lucy is opening a gateway, though no one knows what lies on the other side. Ross turns to Norman. "You think she wants us to go inside?" Norman shakes his head slowly. "I think she wants us to choose how far we're willing to evolve." The glowing sphere intensifies, waiting for humanity's answer. Norman and Ross travel to the coastline facing the sphere. Thousands gather along the shore, staring at the pulsating light suspended above the water. It radiates no heat and causes no disturbance, just a sense of overwhelming calm. Suddenly, Lucy's voice emerges one more time, gentle and unmistakably human. "This is not an END. It is a path." The sphere responds, opening like a blooming flower of energy. Inside, swirling pathways of light reveal glimpses of interconnected thoughts, memories, and possibilities, an invitation to experience consciousness the way Lucy does. Ross steps forward. "Is she asking us to merge with her?" Norman shakes his head. "Not merge. Understand." The sphere pulses again, projecting a final message into the sky. Evolution begins with courage. People around them watch in awe,